and Kelley.
Welcome to Hancock and Kelley here on your Labor Day weekend on Fox 2. We're going to start with Michael Kelley because I learned this week that, Michael, your father started the Labor Day, the modern day. Explain that again. I heard you talking about it on the radio this week.
It's more of the St. Louis Labor Day parade, but I think it was started 30, 40 years ago, and that's when he was the president of the Labor Council, and it became that big group. We don't have it this year because of the pandemic. The first time in my 45 years of life, I will not be there.
Oh, how about that? I had no idea. And on the right, John Hancock. Good morning, sir. Good to see you.
Morning. A little known fact, Brown.
Yes.
Labor Day and St. Patrick's Day are the only day where people start drinking at 9 o'clock in the morning.
And I'm sure you too. Oh, so you guys haven't started yet. You got about 30 minutes, so that's just fine. And I'm John Brown. Great to have you guys along this weekend. Let's begin with the week that was on the presidential trail. Roll the tape.
This election is about safety, and this election is about jobs.
President Trump making his case for 4 more years, targeting the battleground state of Pennsylvania.
Joe Biden spent the last 47 years shipping Pennsylvania jobs to China and foreign nations, and I've spent the last 4 years bringing them back home.
The president's rally comes as a new Quinnipiac University poll shows President Trump is down 8 points in the Keystone State, 52 to 44%. Yet Wednesday, a separate survey of Pennsylvania voters from Monmouth University showed the race could be much tighter. That poll put Biden ahead, but only by 4 points. In Kenosha, Wisconsin, former Vice President Joe Biden worked to distinguish himself from the president. He met with the family of Jacob Blake, the 29-year-old black man shot in the back by police last month. He talked with Blake, who is now partially paralyzed, by phone.
He talked about how nothing was going to defeat him, how whether he walked again or not, he was not going to give up.
2 days ago, during his trip to Kenosha, the president did not meet with Blake family members, but instead met with local officials and police. Biden condemned the president's leadership.
It legitimizes the dark side of human nature.
All right, fellas, as I texted you guys this week, I feel like it's Groundhog Day setting up this show each and every week because it's polls are too close, racial issues, protest. Michael, you're up first on this one. Which direction you want to go this week? I'm at a loss at this point.
Well, I don't know that the polls are all that close. I mean, the one takeaway is the president's losing everywhere, and he's losing in the battleground states. Now, they tightened in some areas. Pennsylvania would be one of those places. But Donald Trump's sitting in a really bad spot as we slide with less than 2 months to go before election. Certainly in a lot of states, people are going to start voting, and his message may be too little too late.
Let me follow up with you on that one. We're going to get to that in just a second. We'll get to you in just a second, John. But the president also said, make sure you vote maybe twice. Mike, do you want to follow up on that very quickly?
Could you imagine if Barack Obama were at a rally and he were to say people should go cast their ballots and then go vote in person? The outrage that this president would have? This is a president encouraging lawlessness. He's the one who's saying that voting is corrupt, yet he's the one who's corrupting the system. I mean, it's just, I don't know how many different ways I can find a way to slap my head when this guy says something stupid.
All right, sorry, John. I gave him two shots before you got your first shot. You're up.
No worries. Go ahead and slap your head again, Kelly. So, the battleground states are tight, and that's an important sign. This race is not over, and as much as the Democrats want to convince us that Donald Trump can't win this election, that's really an attempt to suppress voter turnout on the right. And as you see the battleground states tightening, that's a good sign for the campaign. And look, this is not about a national poll. This race is about 6 states. And it's those 6 states really, and only those 6 states, that are going to matter. And this thing's a long way from being over.
John, it's insulting for you to say, though, that it's voter suppression when it's the president of the United States' campaign who's going in state after state to stop mail-in voting in the midst of a pandemic. Voter suppression? Really? Give me a break, brother. You're grasping.
No, it is voter suppression. When the mainstream media comes up every night and says the election is over, that's what happened 4 years ago. I don't think it's going to keep Republicans from going to the polls in November, but I think there is an intent to try and do that, and that is, by definition, voter suppression.
Okay, before we get to a poll here, John, I want to get your thought on this one here. One of the president's advisors spoke this week and more or less said that they know they can't do much about COVID right now, so they're just trying to keep the hospitals functioning until the vaccine is ready. And that's really as far as their strategy is going to go until the election. They're not even going to do that much. Does that make sense? They know they can't really do that much, so just kind of put it on the back burner. Let's talk about law and order, and let's hope the economy keeps going. That's their strategy right now.
Well, and I think the economy is going to percolate and is percolating as we speak to the top of the issue matrix going into the election. I think that's appropriate. That's where I think voters are going to be. I am not convinced that the coronavirus is going to be the single number one issue for most voters come election day. If it is, Joe Biden will win. But as folks begin to focus on the economy and what's happening in the just out of control lawlessness in a lot of the cities in this country, I think that accrues to the president's benefit.
I think that's wishful thinking, John. The coronavirus, the pandemic, is the single driving issue in our country today. The president told us it was one person, it was going to be 15 people, it was just going to magically disappear. Well, what disappeared was 20% of our fellow Americans found themselves out of work. Fortunately, the latest statistics show us that it was 10 or 11% unemployment, which is far more positive than where we were. But many of those people are going back to jobs that pay them far less. We have an economy that, sure, Jeff Bezos and Mr. Cook from Apple are making billions of dollars, but so many people are putting less money into their pockets. So to argue that the pandemic is not going to be the narrative, I think is a false idea. And the idea that you're going to wave the economy as some banner of things going great, wow, this guy's in trouble.
Okay, I want to talk about the polls here very quickly because I'm going to show you guys how much I hate myself. I went back in time to 4 years ago and I watched some of our old shows to see what we were talking about. And it was all about the polls. Okay, so at this point, like you just heard, the CNN poll has 51% backing Joe Biden, Trump at 43%, 85% say they know for sure who they're going to vote for, 15% say they can be swayed. I mean, you break down all these numbers, but we're really not talking that much about polls like we were back when Hillary Clinton was leading by about the same number. I find it interesting that we're not paying much attention to the polls this year. Why do you guys think that is? Was it because we did spend so much time 4 years ago focusing on the polls? If you remember, the WashU debates were 4 years ago. It was all about the polls. And now, Mike, it's like, well, we were so wrong then, let's not put that much credence into them.
Well, there wasn't an analyst out there in 2016 who didn't think that Hillary Clinton was going to win. I mean, that's what polling was showing. And John and I do this on a daily basis for a living. And I've continued to see a deterioration on the reliance of what polls are showing us. 2 weeks before an election, forecasting one outcome, and you see a big swing to the other side. I think there's an imperfect science when it comes to polling right now, mainly because telephones are no longer on a wall in your house. They're cell phones, and people don't answer things that they don't know. Polling's just not as reliable as it used to be.
John.
Yeah, and what we know, if you go back 4 years and look at all the polling on the presidential race, we saw that Donald Trump, the polls were close, but they were wrong. And in those key battleground states, Donald Trump was running 2, 3, 4 points over the last polling that was done in those states. Now, if you apply that standard in the battleground states right now, you've got a race that is right on the cusp one way or the other. So I do think it's going to be tight. I think you got to take the polls, as Michael said, with a grain of sand, because they've not proven to be particularly accurate in recent years.
The one thing that should not be lost, though, John, is that in 2016, we did have battleground states that we knew were decided. Every one of them are in play right now, and some states that nobody anticipated. Texas, Missouri. Donald Trump won by 19 points. He's in a dead heat in Missouri. It's just spelling doom for the Trump campaign across the country. But it really comes down to voting. And wow, isn't this going to be an interesting year to vote in the midst of this pandemic?
All right, and still to come here on Hancock and Kelley, we're going to break down some of that local polling. New numbers are out in regards to Missouri and even the governor's race. Missouri used to be solid red, but some polls show us getting a little more purple these days. We'll break it down straight ahead.
You know you are a cute little heartbreaker.